que yo sé junto a la promotora Mervention vamos a hacer grandes cosas. Queremos la pelea con Estrada, yo sé que ustedes la conocen, esa es la pelea que queremos. Ella dice que no, nadie quiere pelear con ella, pero yo quiero pelear con ella. Muchas gracias.
That was Costa Rica's own IBF minimum weight champion, Yokasta Valle, who was here stateside last night and issued an official call-out to Senicia Estrada, that division's reigning WBA champion, WBO champion at light flyweight. And we know that Senicia Estrada very recently blasted what other champions are at or around these weights. Yesenia Gomez by name, Yesenia Gomez, the WBC's light flyweight champion. She says those fighters don't want to step up. Well, here is Yokasta Valle stepping up to the challenge and calling out Senicia Estrada by name.
And this is good to see.
It really is. Seeing Yokasta Valle step up to the plate like this, I view the Estrada fight as a very risky fight for her. A very risky fight for anybody at or around these weights. Minimum weight, light flyweight, you name it.
Well, there are some issues to be addressed.
There's been a lot of instability over there at Golden Boy Promotions as of late, who don't seem to have anything scheduled for the fall and winter months. We know that their current deal with DAZN is set to be up this year, and we don't know what happens beyond that.
Are they going to leave the platform?
Will they migrate over to Triller since Oscar De La Hoya's big comeback fight with Victor Belfort? That's where that's set to go down. Does that herald a new era and a new partnership for Golden Boy Promotions, or will Golden Boy Promotions remain on DAZN? We really don't know.
We don't
have anything in terms of a fall and winter schedule. And because we don't know what the immediate future holds for Golden Boy Promotions, we don't know when or where we can expect a fight like Estrada versus Valle to take place. Yokasta Valle might have gone as far as calling Senicia Estrada out, but what's the ETA on a fight like that? When can we expect a fight like that to happen when things are so immaterial with Golden Boy Promotions right now?
That has to be addressed.
I think we can all agree that in this situation, Senicia Estrada is the A-side fighter, and the onus to do the fight, finance it, falls on the A-side fighter and the A-side fighter's people, the A-side fighter's promoter. The A-side fighter's promoter is Golden Boy Promotions.
I mean, I want to see the fight.
But that's what making the fight hinges on. I hardly think that Senicia Estrada's waiting for Yokasta Valle's people to finance it and make it happen. No, the expectation is that Golden Boy Promotions will do it. Golden Boy will make it happen, but Golden Boy's on unstable ground right now. And until we get certain answers to certain questions, there's no telling if and when this fight will go down. The good news is that Yokasta Valle seems to be ready, willing, and able to take on Senicia Estrada, the most dangerous woman anywhere at or around minimum weight or light flyweight. Now it's just a question of when and where does the fight happen. In other news, Tyson Fury weighed in on tomorrow's heavyweight title fight contest between Anthony Joshua, the reigning champion, and Alexander Usyk. The challenger, Tyson Fury, says he's got a tough fight. Usyk is no mug. People say to me he's too small, but the guy is bigger than Muhammad Ali, he's bigger than Mike Tyson, and he's bigger than Evander Holyfield. He's definitely a good fighter.
Yeah, and if Anthony Joshua was 6'3", you might have a point.
Or 5'11". Usyk might be bigger than the aforementioned legends, but Anthony Joshua is bigger than Usyk. So there is a height differential and a wingspan differential, a discrepancy that needs to be addressed.
That's what Usyk's going to have to work around.
Tyson Fury chimed in on what strategy Usyk might be able to use to beat Anthony Joshua, and he said, keep hitting that target, and sooner or later, the big bodybuilder will fall apart at the seams like an old, cheap cushion falling to bits. He runs out of ideas quite quickly. He's a one-trick pony.
This is a very different take to what Tyson Fury said a few months ago.
Just a few months ago in June, Tyson Fury was quoted as saying, I don't believe Usyk's a heavyweight. I think he's a pumped-up cruiserweight. In my opinion, Chisora beat Usyk, and Joshua is much bigger, stronger man. I think he walks right through Usyk.
I think he changed his mind.
We can see he changed his mind. It's how many times Tyson Fury changes his mind that grabs people's attention. He's saying one thing today and the exact opposite tomorrow.
I can never make sense of what that guy's saying.
Anthony Joshua himself was asked if he can outbox Alexander Usyk, and he said, yeah, I can outbox him. Of course I can. And I can outstrength him. There's not one factor that can determine a fight. I'll use my strength, but it is a boxing match. I love boxing, the sweet science.
I guess it's time to address the elephant in the room.
The boys are all weighed in, ready to go. Alexander Usyk weighed in at around 221 pounds, whereas Anthony Joshua weighed in at 240 pounds. AJ is slightly lighter than the last fight, but heavier than for the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch. Usyk's heaviest of his career, 4 pounds heavier than the last fight versus Derek Chisora.
What do I think's gonna happen here?
A lot of predictions. There's a lot of hot takes on this fight, and here's mine. I'm expecting a chess match.
They're both gold medalists.
They've both competed at the highest levels of boxing as amateurs. They've both competed at the highest levels of boxing as professionals. And these two guys ain't the two guys that are just gonna throw caution to the wind, go out there, winging shots, hoping for the best. No. These two guys are far too educated for that approach.
So I'm not expecting a war.
I'm not expecting these two guys to go hell for leather with each other. No. I'm expecting the opening rounds to start off slow, cautious, cagey, both men. Fencing with their lead hands, fencing of the jabs. Anthony Joshua's orthodox jab.
Left hand.
Alexander Usyk's southpaw jab.
Right hand.
The experience that Anthony Joshua amassed facing Olympic gold medalist Alexander Povetkin will service him well here. I expect Anthony Joshua to not just jab at Alexander Usyk's head. He's a better boxer than that. I expect to see jabs to the solar plexus. I expect to see jabs to Alexander Usyk's midsection.
Jabs to his body.
I don't think that Anthony Joshua is going to burn through his energy reserves early looking to land a big right hand, looking to land a big shot. I don't think
Usyk's going to do that either.
Usyk's a bit of a slow starter. You know, he didn't get off to a fast start with Tony Bellew at cruiser, didn't get off to a fast start with Chaz Witherspoon at heavy, or Derek Chisora, so why would he do that with Anthony Joshua?
Usually takes Usyk a few rounds to get in a rhythm.
I expect to see Anthony Joshua establish distance control early by way of the lead hand. Anthony Joshua, who's the taller man with the longer wingspan. I saw some quips about the discrepancy in size not being as dramatic as some others had made it out to be, but application is key. Anthony Joshua is going to look to box from the outside behind straight punches, whereas Alexander Usyk is going to have to break through, try to close the gap as Anthony Joshua takes a half step back here.
Shoots a couple of jabs there.
I don't expect Anthony Joshua to try for big shots early. I expect the aesthetic of the match to be more akin to what we saw in the Povetkin fight than what we saw in the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight. I don't think Anthony Joshua is going to spend most of the fight on the balls of his feet moving around the ring. I think it's going to be a balanced approach.
I don't think he's going to be on the defensive the whole night.
And if there are going to be scary moments in the fight, I think that'll be in the mid-rounds. If Usyk's going to go for it, if he's going to try it, it'll be mid to late.
Once he's gotten into a rhythm.
If he can get into a rhythm, as Anthony Joshua makes it hard for him to break through, hard for him to close the gap by establishing distance control by way of the lead hand, I expect to see Usyk try for lead straight left hands.
Straight shots.
Diving in, attempting to land something significant, something substantial. There's people out there, they think Usyk's got enough that he could probably knock out Anthony Joshua because they don't think Joshua's got the best chin. I resist such people because, Usyk wasn't the biggest puncher at cruiserweight, and when he did get a guy out of there, it was by accumulating damage, a salvo of punches.
Not just one.
Usyk's never had one-hit-a-quitter power. He's got to tire a guy out first, do some damage, break him down. I think that will prove difficult here. I think Anthony Joshua, in spite of being the bigger man, he's going to be a bit of a hard target.
Because he'll stay behind his jab to keep Usyk out.
And when he's on the offensive, he'll fire straight shots coming in that will likely get a lot of respect from Alexander Usyk, as this is the biggest puncher and the biggest man he will have fought thus far.
He'll cover up and get out of there.
Usyk knocking out Anthony Joshua is a concept I've struggled with because, Alexander Usyk, he didn't knock out Murat Gassiev. He didn't knock out Maris Briedis. Those are naturally smaller guys than Anthony Joshua. At heavyweight, he didn't knock out Derek Chisora.
Knocking out Anthony Joshua.
I don't know about that. Usyk had to accumulate damage on guys at cruiserweight in order to get knockouts. Against Anthony Joshua at heavyweight, Anthony Joshua, who's likely going to establish distance control behind the lead hand, behind straight shots, sticking and moving. I don't know that Usyk will be able to accumulate enough damage to get a knockout. Anthony Joshua has to be wary of his own gas tank, his own energy reserves. It's in those mid-rounds that he will be most vulnerable.
It's usually where the lull in action shows up.
For him it does. But he's very lean for this fight, very fit and trim, and what that communicates to me is Anthony Joshua is prepared for a 12-round fight.
He's in it for the long haul.
Usyk's best bet to find his way into this fight is in those mid-rounds where usually there's a lull in the action and lull in the activity from Anthony Joshua. I expect Usyk to become a little bit more herky-jerky, a little bit more froggy in those mid-rounds and try for a lot of shots, try for combinations.
Usyk's got the edge and speed in the pocket.
Close quarters, he's got the faster hands because he's got the shorter arms. That's the way that works.
So I think he'll have limited success there.
As Anthony Joshua will limit his opportunities to get within striking distance, to enter into the pocket. I think that Anthony Joshua will establish distance control and pick up an early lead. I think Usyk will pick up some rounds in the middle, and I think that Anthony Joshua will try to finish strong in the end in what I believe is going to be a chess match more than a barn burner. What I think is going to be a thinking man's fight, a more cerebral fight
Than a Donnybrook on the cobbles.
I'm going to go conservative for this one. I am. The conservative prediction for me is Anthony Joshua to win a cerebral fight, a chess match, on points. I think a knockout is possible. I think Anthony Joshua packs a big enough punch that he can actually hurt Alexander Usyk. And I'm not ruling that out. I'm not ruling out the possibility this fight ends in a knockout.
No, I wouldn't be mad at all if it did.
But if I had to guess what's likelier than not, let's face it, that's what we're all here to do. I think Joshua on points is a likelier outcome than Usyk on points or Usyk by way of knockout.
Close rounds are going to go to the champion.
And that's if Usyk can make the rounds close. Usyk hasn't proven to be all that big a puncher, not as a cruiserweight and not as a heavyweight. Usyk has always been an agile, nimble fighter with a good work rate, but that work rate is going to be stifled by the distance control of Anthony Joshua by way of the lead hand.
I think it is.
At least I think so, and it's for this reason I'm going with Anthony Joshua to win a points decision. And, may the best man win. I mean, I could be wrong. That's why we watch, because we want to find out. Finally, an update to a story we talked about here on the channel in a previous video. Rumor mill. Adrian Broner versus Omar Figueroa bout in the works. According to water cooler rumblings in the industry, boxing bad boy Adrian the Problem Broner is heading back to the ring. While it's the epitome of unofficial, rumor has it the Cincinnati native will be looking to face Omar Panterita Figueroa sometime in the near future. If true, this would mark the second outing for Broner this year. Back on February 20th, the Problem bounced back into the winner's column by outpointing Giovanni Santiago. In his previous bout, which took place nearly 2 years prior on January 19th, 2019, Broner suffered a unanimous decision loss to Manny Pacquiao. In fact, over his last 5 fights, AB is 2-2-1.
2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw.
Now, in my previous video, we talked about how Adrian Broner is reported to have rejected 2 separate offers to face unbeaten up-and-comer Conor Benn, the offspring, the son of the great Nigel Benn.
The Dog Destroyer.
And if this story checks out, if Adrian Broner passed on 2 separate offers to face unbeaten Conor Benn to fight Omar Figueroa, of all people. Omar Figueroa, who's coming off of 2 back-to-back losses.
Yeah, that's a duck.
It's a duck. I don't want to hear it.
Give me no creative explanations. This ain't amateur hour.
It's duck, and it's an according to Hoyle duck, because, Adrian Broner, this is a guy who's got very obvious money problems, money woes, widely publicized. Hell, sometimes he's the one publicizing them via his own social media.
He's giving you a chance to make some money.
And one guy that goes by the name of Sev Savage tell me Benn is not a big enough name to use somebody like Broner as a stepping stone.
But Giovanni Santiago is.
Omar Figueroa coming off of 2 back-to-back losses.
Oh, yeah, they're buzzing much more than Conor Benn is right now.
Sev Savage said Santiago was a tune-up return fight, not a cash-out fight in England against a hungry prospect with everything against him. Totally different situation.
You guys hear a violin?
I do, and it sounds like Sev Savage is playing it for Adrian Broner. He said Broner turned down Benn because Benn doesn't have anything Broner wants or doesn't have. And
Giovanni Santiago does?
what does Omar Figueroa got that Conor Benn ain't got?
Losses.
2 of them. 2 back-to-back losses in his last 2 fights. Sev Savage said, if you're going to cash out, it has to be worth the money and or the risk. Santiago was a tune-up. And what's Omar Figueroa?
Duck, that's what it is.
Regis Prograrius had a brief stint on PBC Island very recently because he was pursuing a Broner fight. Broner didn't want to have that fight. So neither Regis Prograrius, a former world champion, or Conor Benn, an unbeaten up-and-comer.
Broner's too good for them.
But he's not too good for Giovanni Santiago and Omar Figueroa, his 2 back-to-back losses. I mean, if this story checks out, if this all turns out to be true, and he passed on Benn so he can fight Figueroa, yeah, that's a duck. That's an according to Hoyle duck, because even if you needed a tune-up fight, you already had one.
Why the fuck do people make excuses for this guy?
Hey, I don't know, and I don't care. The real question is, why do you guys expect me to make excuses for this guy?
I don't get paid to run interference for these fighters.
Adrian Broner's the guy that stood in front of a judge in a court of law and was crying broke. He's the guy who currently on his own social media.
He's crying broke there too.
And he's been crying broke for a long time now. I mean, this didn't just start recently. It's been this way for years. Adrian Broner's the guy with money troubles. He's the guy with money woes. And you're literally making excuses for him to turn down money to do what?
What?
Fight a guy coming off back-to-back losses. Is that better?
Well, it's safer.
Adrian Broner's a fucking journeyman, whether he's aware of it or not. And he's not even a journeyman on the level of a Derek Chisora, because Derek Chisora can still pack a house. Derek Chisora's last fight was a pay-per-view.
I bet you his next fight's gonna do good business too.
He's got Conor Benn fighting on the undercard to help doll it up, okay? Adrian Broner.
Well, he's very recognizable.
People know him and know of him, but you're grossly inflating his marquee value if you think he's in any position to reject 2 separate offers to fight Conor Benn of all people. I mean, what, you're telling me a Conor Benn fight is too risky?
It must be if you passed on him to fight a guy coming off 2 back-to-back losses.
I don't care what your rationale is. I don't really care how you rationalize it. Near as I can tell, he passed on money to fight Benn for a safer choice, as Omar Figueroa comparatively would be a safer choice than Conor Benn, and that, my friends, is a duck, and according to Hoyle, duck. You know, Adrian Broner's the one with the money troubles, after all. He could use a nice payday like the one he'd get for fighting Conor Benn, but if he doesn't fight him and he fights Omar Figueroa instead, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Adrian Broner's a good showman. He knows how to sell a fight, but as far as having a fight and how he performs in one, I don't want to watch that shit.
He didn't do anything with Mikey Garcia.
Or Manny Pacquiao. Some people think he was given a gift against Giovanni Santiago. I mean, Adrian Broner has a reputation for underperforming, so I'm not biting my fucking nails and clawing at my face to see the guy fight. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Looks like a duck.
What do you want me to do, sugarcoat it for you?
Why the fuck would I do that?